I'm glad to bring you the next installment in our Campaign Cartographer 3 video series on how to make a map. And in this video we will add rivers and lakes, and I will throw in some forest as well. So enjoy. So welcome back inside Campaign Cartographer 3. So this was where we left off. Last time we created our map. We now have our mountains. We have the icy parts we added last time, and the desert down here that we added the time before that. So now I wanted to show you how we are going to add rivers and lakes, and after that I will throw in some forest as well. So when adding rivers and lakes, the first thing we want to do is to go to the default river tool, which sits up here right in the left corner. This button here called default river. What we do is we right click that one. Right clicking it brings up this new window of select drawing tool options, and within this we will select the river lake option. Once you have done this choice, you will be taken back to the map, and you will also notice that the sheets up here on top have changed to rivers, and the layer we are on is now called waters and rivers. You also have this famous crosshair, which means that we are ready to draw. So let's start adding a lake. And the best thing is to zoom in. So you remember we have the zoom window up here in right corner, so let's select that one. And let's say we want a lake up here around the mountain formation. So I'll zoom into this area. So once I'm zoomed in, you can still see the crosshair still exists, meaning that the Campaign Cartographer 3 still remembers that I wanted to draw a lake. What we do now is simply left click somewhere. Let's say we want the lake to appear around here. So I'll left click, and basically once I start moving my cursor, you can see that the lake the surrounding of the lake starts growing here. So the more I pull out, the bigger the lake will become, and I can also make it go the other way. If I go over here, you can see it shifts. So it's basically just latches on to the starting point I selected. So for the sake of purpose here, let's say that this is the lake we want. It's going to look like this. So what I do now is simply left click again, and you can see that the lake appears. So once I'm done, I can right click to remove my crosshair, but let's say for now that we want to add one or two more lakes. So I'll just zoom out and zoom in some other areas. Let's say we want a lake down here. So again, left click, decide what size I want, and left click again. And let's zoom out and do a third one just for the sake of it. Let's keep it away from the desert this time. I think we have enough ice and other things going on next to the desert. So let's put it up here for now. Yeah, like I said last time, I have no idea why there would be ice next to a desert, but there you have it. Okay, left click and zoom out. So we now have three lakes, one big one, one medium sized, and a small one. What I do now to remove the crosshair is right click, and you can see I get my pointy marker back. What I'm gonna do now is again right click the default river option up here in the left top side corner, which is again gonna bring up the default drawing tool that we had before. And now I want to choose river fractal. Okay, so having zoomed into the area where we want our lake to appear, the first thing I want to do is select the on button over here. So basically, when I click this one, it still remembers that I want to draw a lake, but what it does is that it tells Campaign Cartographer 3 that I want it to start on this lake, or on this lake here. So I'll left click, and then you can see Campaign Cartographer 3 starts to draw a lake, and I can pull it around the way I want. And what I can do is every time I left click, it'll kind of pinpoint that spot on the lake. So if I want to go down here and make it turn, I can left click and turn it over here, and left click and turn it back, or wherever I want it to go. So every time I left click, I fix that point. So let's just do like this down here. And let's say we then, as we said, we wanted to drain out into the ocean. So once I get down here, I'll have to select another option, and this one is called endpoint. So what I'll do is first left click, it fixes it on the beach, and then I'll right click and it draws out my river. What you need to be aware of, if you don't use these on point here and end point here, what I have personally experienced sometimes is that for some reason Campaign Cartographer 3 can find it, let's say, challenging to draw the right lakes. So it sometimes ends up ending in the middle of nowhere, and not adding the last 3 centimeters or inches or how you measure it, and just maybe cut short right here, and it becomes a bit annoying. So best to use the on for your starting point and the end point for where you want the lake to end. And there is another thing to mention here. You need to remember that rivers never split up, they only combine. So if you want to learn more about this in regards to placing lakes and rivers correctly, I cover all that in the ebook on fantasy map making. I'll put a link right here on the screen somewhere for you, and also in the description field below if you are interested. So I will right click to get rid of the crosshair, and I have my cursor back. So you can see if we zoom out, we now have our lakes or lake, and we also have some we now have our lakes, I meant to say, and our river. And what I wanted to do is to add some cool effects to this, because it kind of looks a bit sad. So just like we did with the mountains and the ice and the deserts, we want some effects. And to do this, the first thing we're going to do is go back to our famous sheets and effects over here, and left click, which bring up our window that we know quite well by now. And make sure if you stop drawing your map in between each step here, and close off your computer and reboot and open the map again, every time you open the map, this activate sheet effects will be off, meaning that the nice effects you have on the map itself will not be visible. So you just click this one and it comes back. So it's not because there's something wrong, you just need to activate the sheet effects every time you open your Campaign Cartographer 3 software. Okay, so with this box ticked, what we want to do is select the rivers sheet. So rivers is right there, so we select that sheet. And as you can see, as what happened in all the other steps, there is a default effect on it. Let's delete that one. And then what we want to do is add our own. So we'll add a glow, and we'll select a dark blue color. Oh, let's pick that one. Click OK. We'll have the mode set for outside, and the strength we are happy with 0. And the blur radius we would like to have at 3. Click OK. Add another one. And this one we'll call edge fade, and the distance we set at 20. Click OK, and then click OK inside the Sheets and Effects wizard, which will just make the map redraw. And you can see now the edge of the river, for example, looks much better, and there is also a edge around the lakes themselves that makes them look much more realistic than what they did before. So I think we now have a pretty good map showing you mountains, deserts, icy elements, and lakes and rivers. So where we want to go next is to add forest. And much like with the lakes and rivers, it's always good to use the zoom buttons where we want forest to appear. So let's say that we want forest up here. So I'll zoom in on that area. And we also have a quick link for this. And this quick link is called vegetation, and it sits right up here. So select this one. And what we choose here is CC3 filled vegetation. Click that one. And now you see the symbol catalog over here to the left have been populated with all kinds of different vegetation symbols. You can do this however you want, and you can play around with it and use different symbols. There is full forest stuff here. There is different colors of trees. There's also like barren trees and fruit trees and mixed woods and forests and all kinds of things, as you can see all the way down here. There is a ton of opportunities, and you can also do some jungles if that's what you prefer. There's scrublands, swamps, what have you not, plenty to play with. But the way I like to do it is that just below the top here, you can see you have these single trees, and you have this symbol R here. And as you might remember from one of the previous videos, the symbol R is there for randomness. So it means that the software Campaign Cartographer 3 will auto generate the look of each tree slightly different, so that they don't all look the same. And I like to use these ones, so I normally either use this one or this one. So let's go with this one for now, and you can see it brings up the symbol on my crosshair. And when you make your choice, then remember to right click first to bring up the symbol parameters page where you remember we set the scale. And for this one, you set the scale for 0.75 and click more, which will then make the tree slightly smaller. And what we can do now is place a mixture of trees on the map, and you can see already that they look slightly different, each one. And let me just, for sake of purpose, show you. So I'll just right click to get rid of this symbol. Click right click and click finish. I'll just show you the difference so you can see it. If I, for example, pick the wood symbol here, you can see that that's what it looks like. And to me, that just doesn't look good. So I'll right click, click finish. As you remember from previous videos, you have an option to delete from these menu point down here. But what you can also do is up here on the at the top, you can select undo, and it will remove what we just did. I'll do that 3 times. Thank you. And then I'll go back and select my tree here. And just to check, right click is still the right size. Click more. And then basically what I do is I go around adding my trees, and I stay zoomed in on them so I can see where I'm placing it. Now they don't have to be all jammed up and close, really. I mean, once you zoom out, it'll look quite good anyway. So let's just place some trees here. You can do you can do it quite quickly, to be honest, and you don't have to be too exact with it, as long as you don't have any major gaps in the middle of it, unless you want to do that on purpose. So I'll just click all the way around here. Oops, I don't like overlapping though, so that was a mistake. I'll just go up here, undo. I think I need to do that 3 times. Undo and undo. Okay, back to adding a few trees. Yeah, trees shouldn't sit on top of each other. I think we can all agree that's a bit strange. Okay, so if we say that for now this is good for our example, I'll right click and get rid of that one, click finished. And with all the trees placed, now stay zoomed in on them like this. And you're now gonna add contours to these as well. So select the default contour line we have over here. I'll left click it. And inside this menu, you're prompted to select one of the default contours. And I like to use default contour number 6, this green one. I find that that looks the best. If you want, you can play around with 7 and 8. I like 6 best. So click that one and we will be taken back to the map. But now you will notice that the sheet has changed to contours land, and the layer is now relief and contours. And we also have the crosshair cursor back. So just like the mountains and everything else we've been doing, the process exactly the same. Simply left click around the trees and right click once we get to the end point. So I'll just right click around the trees here. Oh, sorry, left click around the trees. And once I get back to the starting point, which is now also the end point, I'll right click and it adds this contour here. So you don't have to be too accurate with this stuff, as long as you keep the contours inside the forest. You don't want to go outside here, then it starts to look quite strange. So keep them inside, but as long as you do that, it'll look good. So I'll just right click to get rid of this crosshair thing. And as you might remember from the previous videos, because we've already added effects for the land contours, you just need to basically redraw the map for it to take effect. So let's zoom out again. And there you see, inside the trees, you now have these this kind of greenish undergrowth, which makes it look quite more realistic. And of course, you can continue this as much as you want, adding different types of trees, adding different trees across different sections of your world, just as much as you please. But for now, I'm quite happy with this for our YouTube tutorial. So thanks for watching. Our map is taking form. And in the next step, I'll talk to you some more about adding default terrain and also some natural features that we're gonna put in there to make it all look even more realistic. So we are getting closer to the end point, but a few videos yet to go. So stay tuned and thank you so much for watching.